What's up, guys? Randy here at Leash Electronics. Over here working on my street Trans Am, trying to get a little bit of final touches done on it. Going over some things. Actually took it for a drive this morning before work, just to make sure everything was working right. Couldn't go very far or do too much because I haven't got my tags on it yet. It is insured, but no tags. But drove it, man, everything worked really good on it. Drove good. Power steering, it steers like a stock car. Drives, rides pretty good too. Cooling system, everything's fine on that. It's got a pretty good cooling system on it. It's got two radiators. They're small radiators. You can't really see them because they're kind of under the car, way under there. But they're on both sides. They're small, but they're really thick. Got fans on them, and they seem to do pretty good. I've got a thermostat in the car, so it went right on the thermostat and just cruised there, which naturally it's the time of year that it's not hot, so won't really be able to test it good until summertime, but it seemed like it's going to do pretty good. But drove it, everything's good, so I'm just going over a few things because I'm wanting to try to hit a little track this weekend just to play with it and get some little testing, tuning and done. I did do something kind of neat that maybe nobody's seen before. That's my boost controller solenoids. Normally I run all of my boost controller stuff off of CO2 or compressed air tank or something, and I do have CO2 on here, but I just want to do a little something different so that if I'm out driving on the street and not needing a whole bunch of boost, I don't have to worry about turning on the CO2. So what I did, I got these one-way check valves, and they open up at really light pressure, like 0.2 pounds or something. This one here is fed by my CO2 bottle. This one here is fed by manifold boost. So if I've got my CO2 turned on, and then the pressure comes through here and it feeds the solenoid, and it won't go this way because this is a one-way check valve. And vice versa, if I don't have any CO2 hooked up, then any boost pressure will come in here and it will supply my boost controller with pressure via my boost. Now, the only catch to that is if you're using boost pressure or manifold pressure to supply your solenoids for a boost controller, a lot of times you're kind of limited to how much boost you can make because you hit a certain point pretty quick where you need more pressure on top of the gate to make more boost than the amount of boost you have to work with. So a lot of times you'll run into a wall where no matter what you do, you can't make any more boost because basically you don't have enough pressure. So that's whenever usually you have to step up to CO2 or a compressed air system so that you can have a wide range of boost. Kind of a generalization is usually if you're using manifold pressure or boost pressure to supply your boost controller, a lot of times you're limited to about twice whatever your wastegate spring is. And some people, that's fine. Some people that works really good. Now it wouldn't work for me because in my big precision 66 millimeter wastegate down there, it's just got it makes 3 pounds. It's got a 3 pound spring in it. So if I was just relying on manifold pressure only, probably about the most I would make would be 6 pounds of boost. And you can't go very far with that, but I've got it set up like that. So if I'm just street driving and I'm not trying to make any power, 6 pounds of boost to be enough just to drive to town and play with. If I want to get rowdy, I just reach back there and turn the bottle on, and then it's got it all then. So what else? Got that going. I had to make a front wheel sensor, so I'll have a speed sensor on the front tires. I need to go to my storage building and pick up my other seat. I've got another seat that goes over here. I know my guys are busting my balls every day about getting this seat in because they want to ride, but what they don't realize, I'm gonna have to charge them for it. At least a few dollars a ride. Let's see. Got some killer lights. All my lights work really good on it. I've got a lot of LED lights. The only thing I haven't done yet is I haven't hooked up the controller that opens up the headlights because that's kind of a pain in the butt. Another thing that I'm going to do pretty soon, which I've done before, if anybody remembers, I used to have a silver turbo Camaro called the Hammer, and I did a pretty cool thing with the exhaust. Of course, the exhaust on it was coming out the side of the car, but what I did, I had a boost activated exhaust cutoff, so it stays shut normally, And if it had boost, when you start making boost, it would open that up, and then the exhaust would go out the pipe. It was a 4-inch pipe, but I also had another smaller 2.5-inch pipe that was tied into it down here on the outlet of the turbo that ran all the way out the back through a full exhaust system. So whenever I would just crank it up or drive around, that thing would be like ultra quiet, like a grandpa ride. But as soon as you get on it and it starts making some boost, that cutoff would open up, and then it'd be game on. And it used to freak some people out because at the track, you always have people standing beside the cars and stuff, and they would stand over there, and I would get ready to do the burnout, and they're thinking not much to it because the car was super quiet. But then the exhaust cutout would open up and start banging, shooting flames and stuff, and scare the crap out of people. That was always fun. So I'm gonna do that on this car too, because I'm getting older and I don't like the loud ass stuff anymore. I like it when it's quiet. Matter of fact, I've even got the muffler I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use this little Flowmaster in the back, and that with a 2.5-inch pipe, it'll be ultra quiet. Let's see. Oh, I'm gonna show y'all something else. A lot of people don't know about the Maxxecu setup because most people are using Holley or Fuel Tech or all that stuff, which is fine. They're all good. I don't consider any system to be the best. They're all good, and they all do what they need to do, which is control fuel and spark. Some systems you get a few nicer little extra features. But the way I see it, if anybody tells you their stuff is better than everybody else, you kind of need to stay away from that. I don't like that. I won't buy anything from somebody that just says theirs is better than everybody else's, because what makes you think yours is better? I mean, if yours is better, somebody can come along and they can make one better than yours. So I just say as long as it does its job, then that's all it's supposed to do. But this is what I use, and it's just personal preference. I've used pretty much all of the ones in the past, and they've all worked and been fine. But this system here just fit me. I really like the layout of it. The guys at Maxxecu, they're really slick on the software, and they're constantly adding really neat stuff to it. But I like how it's laid out. It's really easy on the eyes. I'm colorblind, not fully, but mostly colorblind, and a lot of screens can really make it hard for me to see. The colors on it don't stick out as much, and some of the stuff can just flat out give me a headache. And I've got a couple systems out there that I've tried that's exactly what they did. But this one looks good. I like the black background that they have, and I really love how they have all of their stuff laid out. So basically, your stuff is laid out really nice. Whatever you're looking for, you can find easy. If you're setting up your configurations on basic stuff, or your limits, like your rev limit, boost cut, any of that kind of stuff, really rev limit's all I use out of there. You got all of your fuel setup stuff here, where you set your injectors, your acceleration enrichments, your lambda control, all of that good stuff. And you got where you set your basic ignition settings up. So any of these, you just go in there and you can set whether you've got a distributor, if you got cold on plug, whatever you want. That's all your settings there. You got idle control. You got the motorsport stuff, which is some of the stuff is used pretty heavily on drag racing. You got your launch control, which is basically your spool up. And it's got some pretty good features on it. Not just the rev limit. You've got stuff where you can add fuel, take timing out, take timing as the boost is coming up. So you got a lot of neat stuff you can do there. Rolling launch control. This is pretty neat, especially for the guys that do that gay stuff out on the highway. I don't know about all that, but it looks pretty cool though. They've got it set up where you can set it up on a button, where if you're driving down the road, you grab the button and you go to the floor with it, and it locks it at whatever RPM you're at when you grab the button. So you go to the floor with it, and bam, you start popping on a rev limit, and boost starts coming up, and when you're ready to take off, you just let go of the button. So it's like a rolling trans brake launch. That's pretty cool too. Shift cut, power management. They got two different types of power management. You can use both of them together. You can use the time after launch and the speed based. So time after launch is going to be basically where you can set a retard curve based on time. Kind of like everybody used to do with the MSD 7531 back in the day, so you have all that, but it's a little more customizable. And then you got the speed based, which you can use your actual mile per hour speed, or you can use drive shaft speed. So you can put a drive shaft curve in there, like a lot of people use for their traction control. And I use both of these whenever I need to, because they're pretty neat and have good control. Speed and gear, that's where you set up all of your drive shaft sensor or any speed sensors that you have on your wheels. And then you have your traction control setup. The kind of traction control setup they have is the kind that's based off your front and rear wheel slippage. So you can program a certain amount of slippage for the rear, and then that's when the traction control will start to engage. And it's pretty nice. It's got some good customizable features. If you got any CAN bus related stuff, they got some really cool CAN bus type stuff in there. Really nice. They got these advanced. You really don't need to mess with them unless you really know what you're doing, because it's some pretty nice stuff. I play with a lot of this stuff, which is one of the reasons why I like this system, because a lot of systems don't have this much stuff that you can play with and do some crazy stuff. You got your inputs. So if you're setting up your triggers, any of your sensors, lambda sensor, EGTs, digital, analog inputs, it's all right there. Outputs, their user outputs are really awesome. They really are. This is one of the things that really shines to me, because I can make an output do all kinds of stuff. Like, for instance, water pump. I hope y'all can see this. But you can set it with different functions, a bunch of and or type functions. So just for example, I have my water pump set to where if the coolant temperature is greater than 170.1, the water pump comes on. Also, if the throttle position is greater than 60%, I want my water pump on. So I want my water pump on if I'm making a full throttle pass, because I want water flowing through the motor, so there's no hot spots or anything. So I've got it based on that. So if I'm wide open down the track, no matter what the temperature is, my water pump is going to kick on and make sure that I got water flowing through there. And then I also got it set on, I've got a CAN-based button system in there, so I have manual control over it with my CAN-based button. So I can control it with any of these. Any of these are going to trigger my water pump. And let's see, I got my trans pump that kicks on, my trans cooler. So it kicks on at the transmission temperature. Right now I got it set for 150 degrees. Or I also have one of my CAN-based buttons that I can manually turn it on. And my shift. The fan, I have the fan set up where the temperature has to be above 170.1 and my throttle position has to be below 50%. All right, the reason for that throttle position is because if I'm driving down the road and I get in the throttle hard, I'm running, I got speed. So if I got speed, I don't need the fans at that point. I'll rely on the air going down the road, so the fans can turn off. And then it's got, where I've also got it controlled by a manual button too. That's my overdrive. I got a gear vendor's overdrive, so I have this where it can set it up. And the way I normally had this set up, I got it changed right now just because I didn't want it coming on. But normally I have this set up where if I'm cruising and I'm less than 50% throttle, if it gets over 50 mile per hour, the overdrive will kick on. And I would also have a secondary thing set up, which would be this one right here, the wheel speed. I'd have this set up like if I was running quarter mile or something and I wanted my gear vendors to kick on, you know, up top end. So I'd have it set on a mile per hour, which would be roughly at the top mile per hour that my 1-to-1 transmission gear ratio is, and I'd have this kick on my overdrive. So that works out pretty good. And there's a lot of, you know, there's different ECUs out there that you can't do this with. And diagnostics, got some cool diagnostics. It's got any error codes. It's got where you can manually test any injector output, any ignition output, so you can make sure that anything is firing or clicking like it's supposed to. Let's see, that's where you can temporarily cut off a cylinder. I hadn't had a use for that. Got an injector resistance. This is kind of neat because you can go in here and just hit this and it hits all of the injectors. And look at that, it shows all of my injectors are showing less than 2 ohms. This is really nice to do every now and then just to make sure that you don't have an injector unplugged, bad wire, something like that, coil going out in an injector. It'll read all 8 injectors. And that's really good for troubleshooting and just keep an eye on everything. Not sure that any other systems can do that. There may be, but I haven't run across one. You got your trigger logging. So this is stuff whenever you're trying to figure out your cam and crank trigger. This lets you find any issues. You got your trigger oscilloscope. This is pretty neat because you can whirl the motor over and hit start measurement, and it'll show you an oscilloscope snapshot of your crank signal sensor and your cam sensor. I've used that a bunch to figure out some stuff. Very handy. Tune problems. If you got anything jacked up in your tune that's not right, it'll tell you right here. It'll say, hey, dumbass, you did this wrong. And then the thing you'll be going to the majority of the time is going to be your tuning stuff. In the tuning, I mean, you just go this, click it. You got fuel table, lambda table, ignition table. So super simple there. You got all your map stuff. So all of that looks good. You got extra tables that you can use for some customizable stuff. I haven't had any use for the extra fuel tables yet, but I have used the extra ignition tables. I've used them for some playing with some different types of traction control and stuff. Like this is one here where I had different wheel slip percentages where it would actually just pull timing, do nothing but pull timing if the wheel speed got at a certain point. But a lot of stuff to play with, a lot of customizable stuff. I just like the simplicity of it. I know I'm probably moving this phone around a lot. I don't have one of those fancy little rigs that everybody uses. But I like the simplicity of it because you can just look at these folders and go to exactly whatever you want to go to. You don't have to search high and low to find a certain setting. Once you play with it just a little bit, you kind of know where everything's at, so you just go to the folder. And they recently added this little shortcut tab where if you don't want to see all of this stuff, on shortcuts, you got just basic stuff. Your data logging settings, fuel table, launch control, power management. So that kind of makes it a little simpler there. And then down here, you've got this live logger that when the car's running, it's showing you whatever sensors you have set right here. And you can go and set these to whatever you want. And you can also, from the main screen, you can go straight up here and hit this red button and instantly start data logging. Hit it again to shut it off. This would be to play back any data logs. And one thing I like about this system, when you connect to the ECU, it connects instantly. There's no waiting for it to download or hit this, hit that, hit that. As soon as you plug it up, it downloads onto your computer and your tune is right there. I mean, almost instantly. The data logging, it downloads super fast too. There's no waiting, sitting around, drinking a cup of coffee while your data log is downloading. It's right there. You got this real-time bar here. When this opens up, you can open up any of these to see pretty much any input, output, or whatever your engine has going on. If you want to look at it live, it's down here. You got your little shortcut cheat code, so if you need to know any shortcuts for something, you have it right there. You have these little quick displays at the bottom. They're customizable, so anything that you just want to see on the screen, you can set them, and you can also set different ones for different things that you want to look at. Let's see. And like your tuning stuff, you've got 2D version, you've got 3D, and you can go in here and manipulate stuff on this screen here. System does have some auto-tune type stuff in it that's not necessarily full auto-tune, which anybody that would rely on that shouldn't be tuning on anything. But it's got some neat stuff where if you're doing some dyno pulls and some load pulls at certain areas. If it was adding or subtracting a percentage of fuel, there are certain buttons you can push on this thing that if it is correcting some and you hit this certain button, it will actually go in there and change that cell to what it should be. So that can help you with some tuning a little bit. What else here? Yeah, I really like the data log setup. It's pretty nice. I was trying to see something pull up so you can see the data log. There's some generic. All right, data log stuff are really nice. You can select anything that you want. You can go in here and select channels. You can set the channels up, like your highs and lows. You can set channel presets. You know, various other. You can compare with some other logs. I like the data logger on this. It's easy on my eyes too. And plus you can always see all this stuff here from your data logs. You can put any notes or anything after your runs, your 60 foots or any tuning notes or anything like that. I'm a fan of their data logger too. And it data logs a crap ton of stuff. Let me see, I got so much stuff on here. I've got 101 channels that I data log. It sounds like a lot, but I'll actually look at quite a bit of them. Just think of Bluetooth to about any Android device to show gauges and stuff on that. But anyway, just wanted to give y'all just kind of a little overview of the Maxxecu, since I know a lot of people don't know anything about it and never seen it. But you know, like I said, I won't tell anybody that any system is better than the other. I mean, I tell people download softwares to all the different systems out there, open it up and see if it instantly makes sense to you. If it makes sense to you when you open it up and you can kind of halfway navigate it and have a slight understanding, then that's a pretty good system for you. And this one, like I said, I've dealt with a bunch of ECUs, but when I first got turned on to this system, as soon as I fired the software up, I was like, man, this is laid out really nice. It looks good. It doesn't hurt my eyes. So I stuck with them for a long time. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this system that's in here now because I've worked with them and they've listened to some of the stuff that I've told them that'd be neat, and they've incorporated a lot of the stuff. I mean, at one time it was all metric type readings in there, and I was probably one of the first ones that was, you know, chatting with them and told them how nice it would be over here if we could get some of our type readings in there. You know, I like seeing PSI boost. I see the KPA and it just throws me off. Although I do pretty much know the numbers now, but I still don't like it. But anyway, so I'm just trying to do some finishing touches to get this thing where maybe I can go to the track this weekend. I'm looking at possibly going to George Ray's track over here in Arkansas. I'm not planning on trying to go over there and run fast or anything. I just want to make a few hits on the car and play a little bit. And I've never been there. I'd like to go there just to say that I have been there. And I come across this gauge system a while back, PowerTune Digital. It popped up on my Facebook feed and I got to looking at it and I kind of liked it. And I saw they had it where it would can with the Maxxecu, so I got it and I like it a lot. It works really good. It cans all the data that I need on there. Screen looks pretty decent. You see I was even able to upload some stuff on there. I hadn't tried it yet, but it has a built-in like track timing deal, so you could go out and make a pass. I think you just hit this button here, yeah, and it gives you a tree, bam, and that would give you your reaction time, your 60 foot, all of that good stuff. So that'd be kind of neat to try. And there's my can-based switch. And it's not labeled right. I've changed some stuff, but that's my water pump, my fan, my trans cooler. That is a override for data logging. My data logging is set up automatic for the track. So as soon as I go to a certain throttle percentage and a certain boost, it starts data logging. But I added this to override it. So if I'm driving down the road and I just want to get some data logging, I hit that button and it just starts data logging. That's my trunk pop in the back, and that, haven't used it yet, but that's the rolling two-step. I just thought I'd try that. That's actually pretty neat to do if you're on a dyno, because it's usually if you're on a dyno and you're starting off with zero boost, so you have all that lag when you get on it, and then when the boost comes in, it comes in so hard it like shoots through the dyno so fast. But that would allow you to pull it up to 3,000, 4,000 RPM. Grab that button, go to the floor, let it pop, let the boost come up, and then let it off of it, and then your dyno starts, and you're at boost. It'd be almost like having a blower car. Your boost is already there. So that's gonna be neat. I haven't tried that yet. I normally have some type of air shifter. I haven't manually shifted any of my cars in years. I can't even remember last time. But last time I had this car out, when it had the small block Chevy in it, a few months ago, I enjoyed shifting it by myself. So I'm gonna leave it like that. I don't think I'll put an air shifter on it, because this car's not gonna be super fast, I don't think. But that allowed me to have a little bit of fun. Okay, well, as far as I know, that's about all I've done here lately. But fishing to look it over a little bit more. Like I said, maybe get to go to the track and try her out. So until next time, oh man, I can't wait to get that going. That's my 63 Impala. Man, that thing's gonna be sweet. I'm actually starting to build a 5.3, or rounding up the parts now to go on that. I'm gonna do a turbo 5.3. It's gonna have the hooker, those hooker turbo manifold kits on it. Probably put a badass 76 millimeter or something like that on it. Maybe a little bit more. But until next time, catch y'all later.